It turns out there's different definitions for. Oh, yeah. Okay. Hi. Welcome to the Jib. We are back. Woo woo. There's a noise of an air horn I'm trying to do. No. No, I can't do it.
It's like that, right?
Yeah. No, what is it?
You sound like a dolphin. It's like
a dead cat. Sorry, that was my fault. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Hi, we're back. Yay! That's better. I can do that noise. All right. Welcome to the Jib. This bi-weekly, or as it turns out, not bi-weekly, podcast is about the many and varied schemes of the many and varied U.S. law enforcement and intelligence agencies, organizations, and committees, and how they were stupid and funny. Join us on our merry journey through space and time. Hi, my name is Barry, and you might know me from being nominated for Student of the Year in my high school in 1993. Didn't get it, but I got nominated.
That's all that matters, right?
That's all that matters, yeah.
That's all that matters. Hi, everybody. My name is Seamus, and you probably know me from part 1 of the Lavender Scare. So, anyways,
just let me.
You okay?
Yep.
You gonna make it?
Seamus told me this before we started. He told me this joke, and I said I'm not gonna laugh because it was really funny. I'm okay. I'm okay.
You're not gonna laugh. Okay.
No. Fuck you.
Right.
That's brilliant from part 1. That's brilliant. Anyway, that's not why we're here. Not here to discuss
Yep.
Seamus's amazing joke writing ability. We're here to discuss Lavender Scare Part 2, Seamus.
Yep. So when we last left
From part 1.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Oh
It's
my
okay.
God, I said I wouldn't do this. Okay, keep it together. Okay. And the last show, the last Lavender Scare, I just basically sat here and laughed my ass off while you were reading. It was one of the funniest things we've ever done. It was brilliant.
Unfortunately, this one won't be as funny. There's some funny things, but this one is not as funny.
This is more relevant and interesting. And I demand everybody watching this, don't laugh at any of it. Okay, it's very serious gay stuff. All right, gay stuff. Okay, go.
So during the 1930s, a returning champion of all champions, right?
Yeah.
Might know this guy, J. Edgar Hoover.
Oh, I've seen him before in the show. Yeah.
He was making headlines with his exploits of taking down bank robbers, including Machine Gun Kelly in 1933, John Dillinger in 34, and Alvin Karpis in 36. Now, despite evidence from some of these spoilers of legitimate criminal capitalism, to what would call illegitimate organized crime, Hoover denied the connection. He persistently denied the existence of organized crime despite numerous outbreaks of gang violence due to the various groups struggling for control of lucrative profits deriving from illegal alcohol sales during Prohibition, illegal drugs, and other vices, or otherwise known as good times. Seems kind of odd, wouldn't it? Would you say, Barometer?
So Hoover's official position was that the mafia doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Okay.
Nope, doesn't exist. Don't know what you're talking about. So he's like the opposite of Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty, right?
Yeah.
So instead of going hardcore on the mafia, Hoover shifts his focus from arresting bank robbers to his favorite target, communist subversives.
Communist, yeah.
Which leads us to today's topic, the Lavender Scare.
Okay.
Why is it called the Lavender Scare, Barry? My straight version of Manilow. The term...
Ray Manilo's not gay, is he?
Oh, he's gay.
Is he?
He is definitely gay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's definitely gay. He could have made our top 10. Spoilers. The term popularized... Well, no, he wouldn't have. That's another reason. Anyway, we'll probably get it. We'll figure it out. The term popularized by David K. Johnson's 2004 book, The Cover of the Events, we're about to discuss, of course, the title, The Lavender Scare.
Lavender Scare, yeah.
The book drew its title from a term, Lavender Lads, used repeatedly by Senator Everett Dickerson as a synonym for homosexual males. In 1952, Dickerson said the Republican victory in November elections would mean the removal of Lavender Lads from the State Department. So the phrase was also used by Confidential magazine, a periodical known for gossiping about sexuality of politicians and prominent Hollywood stars.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I think that's the magazine that was being parodied in LA Confidential.
Right, Hush Hush. Right?
Yes, with Danny DeVito. That's the same thing, right? Yeah.
In 1940, the FDR administration, which of course he was from our previous episode. If you've
been listening to the previous episode, you'll get that connection here, right? Pay attention, guys. Come on. This isn't entertainment, right? This is education.
Agreed to implement of screening programs to determine the mental health of potential soldiers to reduce the cost of psychiatric rehabilitation for returning veterans. Within a year, direct references were added that homosexuals were unfit to serve in armed forces because they were mentally ill. A change from the military's traditional way of approaching homosexuality as a crime.
I mean, it's a kind of progress, right?
Yeah. Yes, right. Around 4,000 to 5,000 out of 18 million men that had been in consideration were turned away. Those serving the military were ordered to report homosexual acts by other soldiers that were serving. Between 2,000 and 500 soldiers were suspected to be homosexuals in the military.
Okay.
Or sorry, between 2 and 5,000. I don't know why I said 100 there. Pardon me.
Okay. And 4,000 to 5,000 were refused service because they were gay.
Yep.
Okay. I'd love to know how they work
or suspected of being gay, right? I mean,
how do they work that out at induction? Like,
I don't know.
Is he wearing a neckerchief or something? How do they work that out?
After the war, as families were united and struggling to put their lives back together, a national narrative rigorously promoted and propagated idealized versions of the nuclear family, heterosexuality, and traditional gender roles in the home and the workplace. Yay, right?
Yay.
Mobilization for the war, W2. The war experience gave birth to a new addition to American social urban landscape, the gay community.
Okay.
To many Americans, this represented a viable threat to the nuclear family.
What do they think gays are going to do to their families?
It devalues them. Don't you understand? It's like that argument against same-sex marriage, right? Well, then it just disqualifies my marriage. It means nothing now.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all.
I don't either. It's just so stupid. It's just anyways.
I got divorced twice, so I managed to devalue marriages all on my own without the assistance of homosexuality.
Well done.
Thanks.
1947, early in the Cold War, the State Department began a campaign to rid the department of folks deemed risky to national security. They established a set of security principles that went on to inspire the creation of dual loyalty security test, which became the model for other government agencies, as well as a basis for a government-wide security program later adopted by the Eisenhower administration.
Right, but this wasn't designed for gays. This was designed for like Soviet spies and so on.
Right.
Yeah.
Per this criteria of security principles, disloyal persons include communists, their associates, those guilty of espionage, along with persons for, quote, habitual drunkenness, sexual perversion, moral turpitude, financial irresponsibility, or criminal record. So a lot of the people we're going to be talking about that are pushing this would all be disqualified because of all those things.
I'd be disqualified. Yeah. I looked up when you gave me the script first. I looked up that I knew what turpitude meant, but I wanted to check anyway. And I looked it up, and turpitude just means like depravity and so on. So it seems like you don't need the word moral there. I think just ordinary turpitude would have done fine. It's a bit tautological.
Yeah. So pretty much you're going to lose like half the population if you actually stuck by that. Whatever.
Yeah, especially if you're going through the State Department.
Yeah, exactly. And we're to be denied federal employment. Well, whatever could they mean by sexual perversion, you might ask. Right? Of course, this way they could discriminate against homosexuals as part of the State Department policy.
Yeah.
Between 1947 and 1950, over 17,000 applicants 1,700 applicants to the federal jobs were denied positions due to allegations of homosexuality.
1,700 people were said, no, you're too gay for the State Department.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we also have another returning champion in February 1950. Come on.
Oh, there he is.
Senator Joseph McCarthy.
There you go.
He claimed that 205 communists were working the State Department. Also, Undersecretary of State John Purifoy said that the State Department had allowed 91 homosexuals to resign.
Okay, hang on now. You say here Undersecretary of State John Purifoy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I recognize that name. Do you?
I should, and I'm drawing a blank at this moment.
I recognized it, but I wasn't sure, so I looked him up. And then I remembered where I heard that name before. where I heard that name before was during our Guatemala episode
Oh, okay.
with
Okay.
Chesh.
Okay.
He was the guy who pretty much
Yeah.
arranged the coup. And I think
Wow.
it's a bit rich for me, the guy who wrote that script, to look at this name and say, hey, I remember that name. It was a bit like, so I felt kind of weird about it. But that was the episode with Chesh. If you ever want to see a guest come onto our show and literally hand me my ass, right? And she handed me my ass.
Good
You can look at the Guatemala episode. But this is the same guy, John Purofro. This time he's Undersecretary of State, and he's allowing 91 homosexuals to resign.
That was kind of nice of him, you know. At least
Yeah, well, he's not murdering any Guatemalans this time, so
far. Accusations flew against the administration of Truman for not taking the threat of homosexuality seriously enough. Yeah.
What do they think they're going to do?
In June, it's contagious, don't you know? Look at the.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. You'll come back to the office and it's going to look fucking spectacular. No more drab brown tones, you know.
In June 1950, an investigation by the Senate began on April.
Into this.
Yep. Okay, that doesn't make sense. That probably should have been the other way around because actually April 19th, 1950. Yeah. The Republican National Chairman, Guy George Gabrielson, that's a fun name, said that sexual perverts who have infiltrated our government in recent years, perhaps are as dangerous as actual communists. So, homosexuals were considered to be more susceptible to blackmail, thus were labeled as a security risk.
Well, now, hang on. First of all, can we just look at that sentence there that you wrote there? Homosexuals were considered to be more susceptible to blackmail and thus were labeled as security risks. This is
why.
Yeah, I know, right? This is also the reasoning that the MI5 and the MI6 had for rooting out gays in the 1950s in their ranks after the Cambridge spies. They thought and that's why they got Alan Turing. They thought they thought that homosexuality they'd be more susceptible to blackmail and therefore security risks. But your attitude here is creating the situation where blackmail is an option.
Exactly.
Like it's a self-fulfilling thing. It's like shooting somebody in the head and say, "Oh no, you've got a head injury." How did that happen? You know, like come on, man.
Awesome. So McCarthy hired Roy Cohen.
Is that Roy Cohen?
That's Roy Cohen.
Okay.
As chief counselor of the congressional subcommittee. Together, McCarthy and Cohen, with the enthusiastic support of the head of the FBI, already mentioned, J. Edgar Hoover.
A returning champ.
Yeah. So Hoover and Cohen had already had a connection. As part of his schemes to keep an enormous amount of power in Washington, Hoover had maintained files on everyone, and I mean everyone. Under Hoover's direction, the FBI maintained extensive files on individuals suspected of homosexuality. These files were part of a broader system of surveillance that included information on political subversives, civil rights activists, and other groups deemed to be a threat to national security. When Hoover needed something leaked to the press, he'd reach out to Cohen, who made it happen through his gossip column connections in the press.
Cohen's a lawyer, is he?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We'll talk more about him as we go. I think we're going to touch on all the happy stuff about him. Cohen and McCarthy asked...
I'd like you to touch on my happy stuff.
Asked for Hoover to use his power to aid them in their puritanical crusade, and he obliged. Hoover had agents use various techniques to gather information, including wiretapping, mail interception, and undercover informants. Hoover's insistence on thorough and often invasive surveillance contributed to the climate of fear and suspicion.
No shit, it did, yeah. Why are all these people so paranoid? I don't know. It's all they ever talk about. You know, when I've taped them against their will, all they talk about is feeling paranoid in a climate of fear and suspicion.
In May 1950, the Ware Hill investigation began. Unfortunately, very limited records from this investigation have survived, but we do have is a testimony from the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department Vice Squad Lieutenant Roy Blick. Blick claimed that 5,000 homosexuals lived in D.C.
5,000. It's a hell of an underestimate, is it?
Yeah, and 3,700 of them were employed by the federal government.
So there's only 1,300
Yeah.
gays living in Washington, D.C. who aren't
Yeah.
employed by the government.
Math seems a little dodgy, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does indeed.
So, yeah. Despite these figures having absolutely no basis in fact, they were highly reported by the media. Nothing changes, Barry. Nothing fucking changes. The media has been the same.
They'd have friendly newspapers, wouldn't they?
Yeah. The Civil Service Commission sent recommendations to subcommittee, which included recommendations that all arrests related to homosexual activities should be reported to the FBI so that the Civil Service Commission will be aware. This would ensure that all federal employees arrested for reasons related to sexual perversion could be removed from employment. The findings of the Ware Hill preliminary investigation convinced the Senate to launch a full-scale congressional exploration. So I think it's time for.
But the findings of the Ware Hill preliminary investigation are definitely bullshit, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's based on It is based on bullshit, anyways.
Yeah, but the bullshit convinced the Senate to launch a full-scale investigation.
Yep. So this is what's leading to this. Full Senate unanimously authorized the investigation of sexual perversion in the federal workplace. There
wasn't one guy who said no.
No. Because if he said no, they would assume that he was gay and they'd boot him out, right? So, don't you know how that works?
Oh, you like gays, do you? Oh, like if you defend black people, you're an N lover, is it?
Something like that.
Lovely.
The subcommittee was assigned to Senator Clyde Hoey and became known as the Hoey Committee. That's original, right? This investigation had 7 senators, various other investigators, and clerks. Senator McCarthy was on the subcommittee originally, but ended up excluding himself from the investigation, although he did periodically forward information on suspected homosexuals to the committee.
I bet he did, yeah.
The committee sent out questionnaires to all branches of the military, as well as 53 civilian departments and agencies. The Hoey's committee conclusive report released mid-December that year stated that, quote, no place in the United States government for persons who violate the laws or accepted standards of morality, especially for those who bring disrepute to federal service by infamous or scandalous conduct. Stating that homosexuals were unsuitable for federal employment because they were security risks, as well as people engaged in illegal and immoral activities.
Butt fucking.
Yeah. Because those street people do any butt fucking. Anyways.
No. Famously, no.
Yeah.
I've seen movies where they did, though.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Never made it all the way to the end of one, but I've seen movies where they did that kind of thing. They're definitely straight people. Art house stuff, really on the edge kind of.
Art
stuff.
Art house, right? That's what. That you've got in the back room that you had to go to. Further, the Hoey Committee report stated that in the past, the federal government, quote, failed to take a realistic view of the problem of sexual perversion, and that to adequately protect the public interest, the federal government must maintain a realistic, vigilant attitude towards the problem of sexual perverts in the government. I'm glad that they finally did that, Barry, because
And I gather that was the end of the problem. There was no more gays in America after that.
Yeah, and it's not like we didn't have any recent events where a president had sex with a porn star on the desk in the office.
No, that's not a sex pervert. That's fine.
Oh, I'm not shaming. I mean,
look, I'll be honest.
Hey, whatever.
The movies I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Some of those movies also show people having sex with porn stars. So
right,
it's fine.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Is it time for one of our top 10s?
I think it's time for the top 10.
Okay, then we're going to do the top 10 public outings of homosexuals, or gays as they call them these days. All right. This is not really the top 10 public outings. Just the top 10 ones I found interesting, right? And they're in chronological order. Here we go. In 1895, Oscar Wilde, the Irish writer, was publicly outed during a libel action he took himself against the Marquess of Queensberry. He outed himself, more or less. This had enormous ramifications in English society, not least because it was common knowledge that he was the gayest gay in London. He was super gay.
Gayest gay.
Everybody knew.
How gay was he then?
He was the gayest gay. He ran through every rent boy in London and every single remotely slightly gay guy in London, and this was common knowledge. So he thought it was he thought it was just ludicrous, the whole proceeding, and the script.
Well, but yeah.
The script for the trial still exists, and if you read his transcripts, he's making fun of the whole court proceeding, of the judge, of the lawyers. He's just joking around the whole time because there's no way in hell he thought that anybody would convict him for something that no one gives a shit about, right?
Right.
He was. He was imprisoned. Being imprisoned for gross indecency broke him, like, mentally.
Yeah.
And he communicates this very effectively in The Ballad of Reading Jail. If you ever feel like reading a sad poem, it's very, very good. It's just this beautiful little poem.
Anything by Wilde is worth reading, though?
Yes. The wild regrets and bloody sweats none knew so well as I, for he who lives more lives than one, more deaths than one must die. It's just full of these beautiful little lines. Anyway, that's Oscar Wilde. Between 1907 and 1909, a number of Kaiser Wilhelm's cabinet of Germany were accused of homosexuality, most famously Philip, Prince of Eulenburg. Of course, this was less of a push against gays so much as a push against the Kaiser. And you will find this over and over again. It's in your script. I've already seen it in your script that an attack against gays is being used like more as a political weapon than an actual attempt to get rid of homosexuals, right? Not that it helps the gays of the world, but that's just how it went.
No.
Many of the people accused became very unwell. A lot of them got sick, like just physically sick, presumably from all the stress. And in November 1908, the chief of the military secretariat, Dietrich von Hülsen-Heisler, died of a heart attack while performing for the Kaiser dressed in a ballet tutu. He was doing a little dance dressed as a female ballet dancer, and he had a heart attack. So, well, I don't know. I mean,
Wilhelm himself was, also.
We have no evidence of that.
That's kind of...
maybe.
Pretty,
I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm saying...
He was also a very sad person.
Yes, I'm saying Philip, Prince of Eulenburg definitely was.
Yeah.
So Wilhelm may have been.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a lot of rumors spinning around his cabinet, but it was all about his political enemies trying to take him down more than anything else. In 1931, staying in Germany, in 1931, leading Nazi party member and leader of the Sturmabteilung, the paramilitary wing of the Nazis, Ernst Röhm, which you've probably heard of, was outed as homosexual. Hitler used this as a justification for the Night of the Long Knives, which was also called the Röhm Purge. The real aim of this series of executions was to remove what Hitler, as it turns out correctly, felt was a serious political threat from inside his own party. He was right about that.
It was any bastion of anybody sort of on the left, and I mean sort of, right?
Absolutely. The socialists were all shot dead, and they were called, and all the homosexuals, right?
Yep.
Right. Basically, I guess not too far off what the Americans were doing, just running down communists, calling them gays. In 1952, Alan Turing was charged with gross indecency, again the same law, and chose chemical castration over imprisonment in a very, very sad episode in English history. His security clearance was removed because the Foreign Office was going through a weird Cambridge 5 period where they suspected all homosexuals of being Russian spies. His shabby because of the thing we were talking about before, that they were security risks, right? His shabby treatment by the government he helped save from the Nazis probably contributed greatly to his suicide in 1954. In 2013, Turing was pardoned by the Queen. In 2017, everyone convicted of gay stuff, which presumably would also include Oscar Wilde, under English law was pardoned under what is known as the Alan Turing law. Now, you and me, Seamus, were in a podcast, a very interesting podcast, a free thought podcast, which completely rewrites the death of Alan Turing. And I found it very interesting at the time, and it's not available now. So all you guys are just going to have to guess what it was. But it was brilliant and fun and interesting. I don't know, you remember that?
Yeah, I can resurrect it and send it. I'll resurrect it and send it to you. So
me? No, I was there. I was there.
Okay.
It was great. It was brilliant. But I don't want to hear anything from that guy again.
Yeah,
in 1954, Lord Montague of Lord Montague of Beaulieu, but I think in aristocratic English they pronounce that Bewley. I think. So I'm going to say Lord Montague of Bewley, even though the word is Beaulieu. In 1954, Lord Montague of Bewley was imprisoned for 12 months for consensual homosexual offences. Imagine that being a crime. Consensual homosexual offences, by the way, is with an RAF serviceman at a beach hut. Lord Montague denied any actual sodomy. And here's what he said. This is the quote. "We had some drinks, we danced, we kissed, that's all." Right?
What's the problem?
No butt fucking. The trial caused a backlash that the government, so much of a backlash, that the government set up the Wolfenden Committee, which in its 1957 report recommended the decriminalization of homosexual activity in private between two adults. So nice work, Lord Montague. Lord Montague never really denied being gay at all at any point. So good for him, right?
Yeah.
In 1985, Hollywood actor Rock Hudson was outed when he publicly announced he had AIDS, which I guess, this admission went some way towards rehabilitating the public perception of AIDS and indeed homosexuality. Because Rock Hudson was a well-loved Hollywood star, and if he's gay, well, they can't be all bad, right?
Yeah, still didn't help the Reagans to continue to ignore it. So
you say that every time we talk about gay stuff in the 80s, and that is very valid. Yep. They dragged their heels intentionally because I think and
he even reached out to him. He even reached out to him for help, and they just turned their back to him.
Yeah. I think the thinking was that this is a gay thing, and if they could let us, this is nature sorting out itself. I think that was the thinking at the top of and it's only when AIDS started infecting straight people that they started to get annoyed about it. Is that true?
Pretty much.
That's quite a grim, dark, cynical way of looking at things. It's only gays that are being affected by this, so we don't have to hurry towards a cure, you know?
Yeah, it was the gay plague, the gay disease.
The gay plague and all that kind of thing. Absolute disgusting approach. It was a public health issue. It was not a gay issue. It was a public health issue that affected a lot of gays.
Oh yeah, the fucking exchanges between was it Larry Speaks, who was the.
Are you going to do this in part 3? Do talk about the Reagan and?
No, we might. You know what? Yeah, remember, I'll just leave that because there's a whole.
Sure, because you talk about that a lot, and it's very interesting and also.
We won't be doing a part 3 right away. We're going to step away from the Lavender.
Sure, definitely, yeah.
We might come back to this because there's a lot.
Part 3 in 2 weeks, yeah. I promise you, we'll be doing Lavender Scare 3 in 2 weeks. You can hold me to that. I'm saying that because it means Seamus will have to write it again, and I'll be relieved of my writing duties for another 2 weeks. The next guy is, in 1989, Perry Watkins, a U.S. Army sergeant, won a long legal battle after being outed and discharged for being gay, right? Now, the thing about this is quite interesting is, all this was despite the fact that he openly admitted being gay in his induction in 1968, his re-enlistment in 1970, during an investigation into his gayness in 1972, another time his re-enlistment in 1974, another investigation in 1975, another investigation into his gayness in 1978, and a third re-enlistment in 1979. During all those times, he openly admitted being gay at each point of this thing, and he was still allowed back into the army. This was the first time a U.S. appellate court ruled against the U.S. military's ban on service by gays and lesbians. The Bush administration failed in their efforts to get a Supreme Court review of this decision. Watkins was MVP. Watkins was going to re-enlist again for a 4th time, but he settled instead for a retroactive promotion to Sergeant First Class, $135,000 in retroactive pay, full retirement benefits, and an honorable discharge. Fuck yeah, he did. Perry Watkins. Gay as Christmas, and he doesn't give a fuck. Right? Okay. In 1998, speaking of gay as Christmas and doesn't give a fuck, in 1998, pop star George Michael was outed following an arrest for public indecency.
Wow, there it is.
Yeah. At least 2 women, I know it's at least 2 women because they are personally known to me, were heartbroken by this news. Genuinely heartbroken because he's if you don't know George Michael, he's a big, good-looking Greek guy, and women loved him. But he did not love them in return. He would go on.
He did his heart for Christmas.
That was the very next day. He gave it away to a guy. Right. He would go on to be an outspoken advocate on LGBT issues, and after his death, it was revealed that he had anonymously donated huge sums of money to, among many others, LGBT charities. As with Rock Hudson, the public outing of George Michael helped normalize and mainstream homosexuality in the public consciousness, right? You heard about what happened after he died, what he'd been doing with his money?
No.
He would track down people and just, if he knew they were in trouble, he'd give them cash. Like there was some lady on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and she said she needed money for an operation, right? And she didn't do very well. He phoned up the producers of the show, got her details, and paid for her operation.
Oh, man.
And the condition was that he could do it anonymously, that nobody would ever mention George Michael. And he did this over and over again with people he saw on television or people he knew about, or he would give huge amounts of money to different charities. He's just a hell of a guy.
Yeah, I got so much more respect for him now.
So if that guy wants to fuck lads in bathrooms, I say let him. He's a force for good in the community, you know? In 2006, Christian pastor Ted Haggard, you will be familiar with this man, who had preached against homosexuality, was outed by a male prostitute that he'd been with. The ensuing scandal was hilarious for anyone who enjoys irony. Yeah. Haggard resigned from that church, but set up a new one in Colorado Springs with his wife. His poor wife. Christ, I hope she made him take a test. In 2012, Haggard appeared in the reality television show Celebrity Wife Swap, where he swapped wives for 1 week with Gary Busey, and I would love to have seen that show.
I wouldn't swap anything with Gary Busey.
No, not without swabbing it and fucking... bleach
What the
first.
fuck, man?
Although I'd also want to bleach anything Haggard touched.
Right?
Um,
Fucking Hitchens called that. No.
he did, yeah. He's brilliant. He did. He called it. He had the watch. Do you remember the watch? Yeah.
Yep.
In 2017, Kevin Spacey outed himself in the middle of a series of accusations against him of sexual harassment. Now, this is where the outings come full circle, right? Where somebody outs themselves and then it's just a disgusting move. His announcement was released as if it were a scene from his TV show House of Cards. You remember?
Yep.
Yep. And it was criticized by many as an attempt to reframe the sexual harassment allegations against him as homophobic in motive. It was widely regarded as a dick move, and if you've seen this clip he released, you will probably notice that it is definitely.
He had a tweet leading up to that was just bad. Yeah,
it was gross. You will probably notice that it is definitely, at the very least, very creepy. It was creepy looking at that guy saying, "Oh, I'm homosexual," and oh Christ. Anyway, sorry. Go on. That's the end of the top 10 outings. I'm sure there are other ones, but that's what I wrote in my bit of this script.
Cool.
Now we're going back to your bit of the script.
My bit. Okay. 1952, American Psychiatric Association officially classified homosexuality as a sociopathic personality disturbance.
Sociopathic?
Yeah.
I know too many gays to think they're sociopathic.
Right. Yeah. In the first diagnostic and statistical manual of mental
DSM.
disorder. Yep.
DSM 1.
1953, during the final months of the Truman administration, the State Department reported that it had fired 425 employees for allegations of homosexuality. Upon hearing this, apologies, there's going to be some slurs, just quoting what's been said. So McCarthy told reporters, "If you want to be against McCarthy, boys, you've got to be either a communist or a cocksucker."
Well, I'm against McCarthy, and I ain't no goddamn communist.
Yep. Which, I'm sorry, I got to take this for a second. Why is cocksucker such a bad thing? I personally love cocksuckers. I am just, there should be a fucking day for people that suck cock. Okay? We need to have a holiday for people that suck cock. You're doing the Lord's work. Okay? I'm just saying. Just saying. No more shame.
I'm also very non-judgmental towards cocksuckers.
Yeah, praise be the cocksuckers. I think that's what you said. McCarthy spoke on the Senate floor about two individuals, Case 14 and Case 62, as communists who were unsafe risks, and which he directly linked to their homosexuality. He said a top in television. Man, I'm on a bad day reading. He said a top intelligence officer had told him, "Every active communist is twisted mentally or physically."
That's a quote in your script. It's every active communist is twisted mentally or physically. Not like you, McCarthy. You're fine, right?
Yeah, he's fine. Due to the image of the State Department now being tainted with homosexuals, many male employees became self-conscious about the possibility of being perceived as homosexual.
Of course, yeah.
They often refused to be seen in pairs or made statements confirming their heterosexuality when introducing themselves.
I heard they stopped holding hands as well.
Yes. And skipping and jumping.
Let's stop all that. No musical numbers, right? No.
Again, from David K. Johnson's book, The Lavender Scare, Johnson writes that one man admitted to introduce himself at parties by saying, "Hi, I am so-and-so. I work for the State Department. I am married and I have 3 children."
It's not going to stop you from being gay, is it?
No, but it's just a kind of like, hey, I'm definitely not gay, just so you know that.
Weird.
Right.
And when they hug, if they're going to hug each other, they do that definitely not gay hug that guys do, where they slap each other viciously on the back. The not gay hug, Yeah.
President Dwight D. Eisenhower issued Executive Order 10450. Anyways, in April 53.
I have never heard that number described as 10450 before.
I don't know what.
That's
what,
brilliant.
10450. I know it's whatever.
I don't know either, but it's just you started one way and you finished a different. I like that. It's like it's Executive Order 10450.
Which expanded the criteria for dismissing federal employees to include sexual perversion.
Okay, gay stuff.
There were many new regulations and policies put in place to detect and remove queer folk.
We got a queer detector here, guys. If it goes beepy, you're gay, right? Beep beep beep.
I remember the guy from the last episode where he basically had a gaydar. So
Yeah, he
yeah.
invented gator.
My
I can
dog's
tell.
over here outing
I can always
himself.
tell. That's like what these idiots on Twitter say about trans people. You can always tell. No,
Yeah.
you can't.
Where do we leave off? The new procedures to search out homosexuals were frequently used to interview and look for signs of sexual orientation. They also looked at places these individuals frequented, visited, such as gay bars. I guess that's a pretty big clue, right?
Found in a gay bar.
And they even found people to be guilty by association. If their friends or family showed signs of being homosexual, then you might also be a gay, right?
You know who else is really good at figuring out whether you're gay or not is 8-year-old children in my class in the 80s in Ireland, because they have a number of tests. They say things like, if you had something on your shoe, how would you look at it, right? And if you put your foot up the way, you're grand. But if you look at it back the way, it means you're gay. And I don't know if you know that, but that's how. And there's a number of these tests,
Mm-hmm.
these questions, which of course is a form of bullying, but also gay detect. And I was fully gay at that point. I did everything wrong, man. I looked at my hands the wrong way. I moved the wrong way, and I was super gay. So,
well, see, I'm hoping by the end of this episode, you'll finally just admit it. You can move on.
Admit it. I'll come out.
You can just finally admit it and move on. And that's why I've been wanting to do these episodes, Barry.
This isn't a podcast, folks. It's an intervention.
Yes, exactly. It's okay. I still love you, Barry.
You're hurting the people you love.
Yes.
With your bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, I like girls. Yeah, shut up, Barry. You're fooling no one.
Again, from David K. Johnson. I found evidence in the National Archives. A guy named Andrew Ference worked in the U.S. Embassy in Paris. It was his dream job. He spoke many languages and had gotten in through foreign service. He had a partner that my dog is not happy. A partner that living with, and I'm not sure how they found out, but they interrogated him about his relationship and his roommate quite intensely. After one of those interrogations, he went home to their apartment in Paris, turned on the gas oven, and asphyxiated himself.
He killed himself.
Yep.
Because he was being bullied for being gay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's not funny.
No, not at all.
No. That's
I had to bring it back.
It's one of the not funny bits.
Yeah.
God love him. God love that poor guy.
Hoover's influence was instrumental in shaping the policy framework that led to this order. The FBI intelligence on suspected homosexuals provided the basis for many dismissals. Approximately 5,000 gay people were fired from federal employment. These included private contractors and military personnel. Not only did the victims lose their jobs, but they also were forced out of the closet and thrust in the public eye.
They were named.
Yep.
5,000 people were named in federal employment.
Yep.
Jesus.
By the mid-1950s, similar repressive and oppressive policies had gone into effect in the state and local governments, which extended into prohibitions on the employment of lesbian and gays to cover 12 million workers, more than 20% of the United States labor force, who now had to sign oaths attesting to their moral purity to get or keep
fuck off.
their
They had to
jobs.
sign a song saying they're not gay.
Yep.
And I bet some of these 5,000 people that were fired, I would bet money that some of those weren't gay at all. They're just gay,
sure,
not gay.
Yeah. Or they happen to be friend with a gay person, and then people assume.
Or they were just like a little bit campy, like I am.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck me, like that's sign a form saying you're not gay. I mean, it says moral purity, but you know what they mean. Come on, man.
Exactly.
I'm not signing that.
So we're gonna switch our gears here a little bit. So Franklin Edward Kameny was born on May 21st, 1925 in New York City. He showed an early aptitude for science and went on to earn his PhD in astronomy from Harvard University.
He doesn't kill himself, does he?
56. Relax.
Okay.
This is some good stuff.
Okay.
Some good stuff.
Thank you.
Kameny's prominent career was abruptly interrupted in 57 when he was fired from his position as an astronomer in the U.S. Army Map Service due to his homosexuality.
Okay.
Instead of accepting his fate, he decided to fight back.
Oh, okay.
Making one of the first instances of someone openly challenging the federal government's policies against homosexuality.
Okay.
In 61, he filed a petition with the U.S. Supreme Court, arguing his dismissal was unconstitutional. Although the court denied his petition, His case was the first to contest the legality of dismissing federal employees for their sexuality, setting precedent for future legal battles.
Nice.
61, Cabney co-founded the Washington, D.C. branch of the Matchwomen's Society, which that society, as well as a couple of these other early gay activists, they can have their own episodes because there's so much.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. One of the earliest gay rights organizations in the United States. Under his leadership, the Matchwomen's Society of Washington became a vocal advocate for the rights of gay and lesbian federal employees. Cabney organized some of the first gay rights protests in the U.S. April 17th, 1965, before Stonewall even. He led demonstrations at the White House, followed up by subsequent protests at the Pentagon, Civil Service Commission, including the Independence Hall in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, brave move to do a gay
exactly. Thank you. Yes, you beat me to it. These demonstrations were significant as they brought national attention to the plight of homosexuals and began to change public perceptions.
And just another quick thing: Philadelphia comes from two Greek words, which means brother and love. Philos means love, and Delphos.
Not a very loving place, though. Not
a very brotherly love.
Not so much.
Yeah.
Cabney, inspired by those amazing folks of the Black Panthers, which we talked about, Fred Hampton and such, coined a slogan in 1968, which became a rally cry for gay rights movement. This position of positive affirmation was a significant departure from the negative language commonly used to describe homosexuality at the time. Now, I didn't put what the slogan was. Do you have any ideas of what the slogan is? Now, mind you,
1968. We're queer.
Remember, he's like, Black Panthers, man. They knew how to, inspire. I'm going to inspire people here, man. So, what do you think? What do you think?
We're queer. We're here.
Close.
We're gay. We'll stay. Gay is good.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. Okay.
It's not terrible, but it's
not.
Whenever I read that, he was inspired by the Black Panthers and stuff, I thought there was going to be something more profound, and then I was like, okay.
What I like about it is that it is in direct contradiction to every single American government policy up to that point, which is leading you to believe that gay is bad. So I guess that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
And it's easy to remember, right?
Oh, yeah, right?
Yeah, gay is good. Good for him.
71, Cabney, along with Barbara Giddings.
Is that him? Is that Cabney?
Yep, holding the sign.
Oh, nice.
Disrupted the APA's annual meeting, which helped prompted a series of discussions and debates within the organization.
The APA is of psychologists? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
In 73, the APA finally removed homosexuality from the DSM,
a
landmark decision to help reduce the stigma surrounding homosexuality, supporting the broader acceptance of the LGBTQ plus individuals. 73, a federal judge ruled a person's sexuality could not be the sole reason for termination from federal employment. In 75, the United States Civil Service Commission announced that they would consider applications by gays and lesbians on a case-by-case basis.
Well, I assume right? Well, I assume they're considering applications by everyone else, also on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, exactly. That before-mentioned executive order 1040.
450.
Stayed partly in effect until 1995 when President Clinton rescinded the order and put in place the infamous Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy for admittance of gays in the military, which definitely a kind of a shitty half measure, I guess. You want to
yeah, but remember the guy I was speaking about in the top 10? He told every single time, he said, oh, by the way, I'm gay. Even in 1968.
So this is like, God damn it, can you fuckers shut up?
Yes, please shut up. I get it, you're gay, you're gay, you're gay. Please stay quiet.
Yep. And in 2017, the order was appealed, which actually I think should be 16, not 17, I believe. It was repealed when Obama signed the executive order of 13764.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Barack Obama did one good thing. That's
one good thing. Yeah, we'll give him that one. Marmalade Mussolini, which I've heard of. So I mean, when I say that,
oh my God.
He would enact a trans ban from the military in 2017.
Did you call that yourself, Marmalade Mussolini?
No, I think I stole it from somebody.
That's brilliant.
I came up with it. What are you talking about?
Well
done. Only to have it rescinded by Genocide Joe. So
okay. He didn't,
I'll give that one to Joe. So, but
So Marmalade Mussolini said he didn't want trans people in the army.
Nope, because he didn't want to have to. He didn't want the government to have to pay for their operations.
The healthcare. Oh, okay.
It's all
It's
fucked
a,
up. So
yeah, but he'd
he's
have
a
to pay the
fucking
healthcare of
dipshit.
non-trans people. He's okay to pay their
right.
Yeah.
Right. As for Frank, in 2009, he received a formal apology from the United States Office of Personnel Management for dismissal. That same year, the Library of Congress acquired Kameni's vast
Oh,
collection of documents.
you mean Khomeini?
Kameni. Am I saying Kameni?
No,
Yeah,
no,
Khomeini.
Frank is Khomeini, the same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't realize it was the same guy we were talking about.
Yep. Ensuring that his legacy would be preserved for future generations. In 2010, Frank was honored at the White House as part of an event celebrating the LGBTQ plus Pride Month, which, by the way, we're recording on the last day of the month. I was hoping to have this episode before.
Is today the last day of June?
Yep. He continued to be active, to have an active voice in the gay rights movement until his death on October 11th, 2011, which coincidentally is National Coming Out Day. So there's still time, Barry.
Oh man, I would say almost every girl I've ever dated has said something. Are you sure you're not gay? Yes, I am not homosexual, sort of, more or less.
Sort of, maybe.
Yeah.
So now let's go back in time and talk about something completely different.
Okay.
Let's talk about Ed the Skull Murphy.
Hey, did you say Ed the Skull Murphy?
Ed the Skull Murphy.
I am in. Tell me about Ed the Skull Murphy.
He earned his name by bashing a cop over the head with a milk bottle for trashing his shoe sign.
Oh, I like him already.
So he goes on to serve in WW The Deuce, right? Then he gets a gig as a wrestler going by the name of The Skull, due to which he had already been kind of called that, right? Because of the bashing of the cop, due to his classic headbutt move. He moonlights as a bouncer for mob run gay bars.
Wait. Yep. Let's just look at that. Mob run gay bars.
Yes, because look, they're opportunists. They see it as a vice, right? Because you're not allowed to have happen. Because the cops
we gotta have our slice.
Yeah, because I think even Stonewall was mobbed up. It was a mob bar.
So the mafia is accidentally like queer positive.
Yeah, the mob got some shit done, man. The mob did some good shit. Yeah,
as long as there's money, I guess.
Yeah, exact. That's all it is, right? He then goes into some work robbing gold from dentists, which is a pretty slick maneuver, right? So he and his partner rob one guy who begs them to let him keep a diamond ring, right? Saying, "Oh, it's my dad. It was a gift. Please, yada yada." So they were like, "Okay, cool. We'll show some empathy." They let him keep it. Then the paper runs a story about a dentist who conned two men out of a diamond ring. So they didn't take that very well.
No.
So they pay him a follow-up appointment, as one does to a dentist, and they leave him beaten and minus one diamond ring. After 70 of these capers, they get busted. Ed does 10 years. He gets out of jail. He goes back to bouncing at the gay bars. Now the young hustlers nickname him Mother. They called him this for being a protector to them and guiding him to finding various criminal work. Of course, Ed wanted to get back to a more hands-on kind of type work, so he becomes part of a racket that involved the NYPD. Can you believe it, Barry? The NYPD would be
involved in rackets.
Shady? Yeah.
No.
So Ed plays a role. I'm gonna get this picture of Frank down because
very confusing.
Yeah. So Ed plays a role in what's been called the Chicken and Bull.
Chicken
operation.
and the Bull.
Yeah, it's a scam. Which honestly, a lot of the stuff we're covering today, I'm doing a very summary versions of all this. This thing itself could be an episode, but
that's a subtitle to our podcast. This sentence could be a whole episode on its own.
Yeah. The scam worked like so. A young gay sex worker, aka the Chicken, would meet up with a rich, affluent man for a bit of the wink, wink, wink. Say no more, nudge, right?
Wink, wink.
Yeah. Then the Bull
fucking
would come in pretending to bust them. The Bull would agree to not to make a noise for the rich prick in exchange for some cash.
Okay.
Ed, who pretended to be a cop for such scams, was a very successful bull.
Yeah.
Like many other bulls, if the John in question was very rich or powerful, Ed would blackmail the prick for as long as he could. Now, again, this scam was run with the help of douchebags in the NYPD. They would lend out fake bags. Bags. I prefer badges, not bags. Yeah, badges. And info to the bulls, such as Ed, with the agreement of getting 10% of the take. Another reason Ed
It was
was
that
so,
it was that blatant. They will take
Yeah.
10%. Oh, okay.
Yep. Another reason Ed was so good at this was that his newest gig was that he was head security at the Hilton Hotel.
Okay.
So all good things must come to an end. The scam gets busted. A joint effort by the NYPD and the FBI broke it up.
Presumably a different branch of the NYPD.
Yeah. Among those confirmed high-profile victims were Liberace, New York, Jersey Congressman Peter, Fringlehausen Jr. I should have looked that up before we did this. Admiral William Church, who ended up killing himself after he got outed for this. Yep. For some reason, unlike the others involved, Ed does no jail time. Who could be, how's this possible, Baracus? I mean, how does this work out?
Baracus.
Yeah. Well, if you remember how the Skull, Mother Ed, was in the mob.
Yes.
So he allegedly provided them with photos for their advantage. And supposedly, one of the photos that they gave, or that he gave him, was of J. Edgar Hoover. And this is why he denied.
That photo right now. Just put it up there on the screen.
And this is why he supposedly denied the existence of the mafia all those years.
I wonder why that photo seems perfectly normal to me.
Yeah, I know. It's not that simple. Yeah.
Look, I've got a photo of Hoover sitting in his office now.
Yeah.
I will be released from this charge.
So from the 1930s to the 1940s, there were rumors that Hoover was homosexual. Truman Capote, even ever the gossip, once remarked that he was more interested in making Hoover angry than determining whether the rumors were true. On May 2nd of 1969, Screw published the first references in print Hoover's sexuality, titled, quote, "Is J. Edgar Hoover a fag?"
Is there any evidence that he's homosexual, or is it just people talking about him?
Well, we're getting to this.
Okay.
Historians John Stuart Cox and Athan G.
Cox
Harris speculated that Clyde Tolson, who became assistant director under Hoover, were lovers.
Okay.
Anthony Summer, who wrote The Official and Confidential, The Secret Life of J. Edgar Hoover, stated that there was also no ambiguity about the director's sexual proclivities and described him as a bisexual with failed heterosexuality.
Oh, failed heterosexuality, man.
That's
relate
strange.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. So this is the two.
Okay.
Kind of cute that they're dressed alike.
Yeah.
So
they also both look like Truman Capote in that picture.
So what about this Clyde and Jagger thing, you might ask, right? The two worked closely during the day, both single, frequently took meals, went to nightclub, vacationed together. This closeness between the two men was often cited as evidence that they were lovers. Some FBI employees who knew them, such as Mark Felt, aka Deep Throat.
Mark Felt was if you don't know who Deep Throat is Bob Woodward's source for the Watergate story the Washington Post released in 1972 or 1973.
Claimed that the relationship was brotherly, right? So, however, former FBI executive assistant director Mike Mason suggested that some of the Hoover colleagues denied that he had a sexual relationship with Tolson in efforts to protect Hoover's image, and probably their own, right? Because they didn't want any kind of backlash from him. So the novelist William Stryons told Sumners that he once saw Hoover and Tolson in a California beach house where the director was painting the toenails of his friends.
That sounds a bit gay.
That's what me and Barry do on the weekends.
Is that a real photo?
Yeah, that's
okay.
So yeah, Harry Hay, founder of the before mentioned Manitowoc Society, one of the first gay rights organizations said Hoover and Tolson sat in boxes owned by and used exclusively by gay men at the Del Mar racetrack in California. Hoover bequeathed his estate to Tolson, who moved into Hoover's house after Hoover died. Tolson accepted the American flag that was draped over Hoover's casket. You
normally just give that to the wife.
Right. Tolson is buried a few yards away from Hoover in the Congressional Cemetery.
Okay, yeah, that's sounding a little bit gay.
Yeah. So,
fair enough.
I mean, again, just a fucking hypocrite. This guy fucking, right? He fucked with so many people, and he himself was gay. He's just very closeted.
You should see the file on Hoover in Hoover's office. It's massive.
Exactly. So, speaking of hypocritical asshats, remember this guy, Roy Cohn?
Yes, from earlier in this podcast.
Uh-huh. So, in the early 1950s, he met G. David Shine, an anti-communist propagandist. Shortly after meeting him, Cohn invited him to join MacArthur's staff as an unpaid consultant. When Shine was drafted in the U.S. Army in 1953, Cohn made an extensive effort to procure special treatment for him. Even threatened to wreck the Army, end quote, if his demands were not met. McCarthy's treatment of an Army officer in the Red Scare, which this is televised, right? This is one of the biggest things that you'll see whenever you Google any of this stuff or go on YouTube. He berated the young man to the point that the Army's chief counsel, Joseph Welch, responded, quote, "Until this moment, Senator, I think I never really gauged your cruelty or your recklessness, Senator. You've done enough. Have you no decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?" Which I'm sure many of you probably have heard that before.
That is the famous quote,
sure. Yep. Shortly afterwards, when questioning of a member of Senator McCarthy's staff, Welsh asked repeatedly about the origin of a disputed photograph that had been placed in evidence, eventually asking whether, quote, did it come from a pixie?
A pixie.
And when Senator McCarthy foolishly interjected, asking what what he meant by that, Welch replied, quote, the look of the happy leprechaun. A pixie is a close relative of a fairy.
Okay, I know what fairy means.
Yeah, this remark was brought everybody to laugh, but it was clear it was directed at Cohen, right? So
this don't look like no kind of pixie to me.
This was the beginning and the end for Roy ever working with the government
because of the gay smears.
Okay. This led to the Army McCarthy hearings because they're pissed that you fucked with one of our guys, right? In '54, during which
State Department, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. During which the Army charged Cohen and McCarthy with using improper pressure on Shine's behalf, and McCarthy and Cohen countercharged that the Army was holding Shine hostage in an attempt to squeal McCarthy's investigation into communists in the Army. The Army McCarthy hearings ultimately contributed to McCarthy's censure by the Senate. Later this year, after resigning from McCarthy's staff, Cohen returned to New York, entered private practice as an attorney, where he would go on to work with the mob, some guy named Trump, and continued to fuck young men. Because, by the way, he actually was a gay man, and he was a hypocrite who liked to bang dudes. He continued to fuck as much as he could until he got AIDS and died. So...
Okay. He fucked so much that he got AIDS and died.
He got AIDS and he died. So Barney Billis Jones, this is more to... I don't know how many people get that reference.
Okay.
Yeah. There's more to tell about Mother of Skulls, Ed Murphy. Remember him? Yes. So Ed was the doorman for a bar called Stonewall. Ever hear of that one?
I have heard of Stonewall.
You've heard of Stonewall. Okay. So the night of the riot, he and a patron of the gay bar... He and a patron of the bar were handcuffed and left unattended by the police because of all the shenanigans. So they fled to another gay bar. Yeah, they fled to another gay bar where a dominatrix was able to free them for their handcuffs.
How many bloody gay bars are in this bloody city?
Probably just the right amount at that point.
Just the right amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
After Stonewall, Ed became a gay movement activist and community icon. He was gay, but he was kind of closeted. But he pretty much came out after.
Ed the Gay Murphy.
Yeah, Ed the Gay Murphy. The Skull earned prominence for working with people with AIDS, runaway teens, and young prostitutes, as well as homeless kids, addicts, and mentally retarded. Ed played a key role in the rally support for gay initiatives. I'm going to read pretty much the rest of this is going to be from an article on Slate, and of course I forgot to write the actual name and author in this because I'm a fraud and a hack. But anyways, if you Google Ed the Skull, you can find us. What's that?
We can drop it into the comments anyway.
There you go. A 1978 Village Voice profile by Arthur Bell portrayed Murphy's Murphy leading a march on behalf of gay rights bill, then before the New York City Council, with Lavender Marshall's hanky knotted around his wrist as he led the protesters in a rousing chorus of "Hey, hey, ho, ho, discrimination's gotta go." Murphy looked like, quote, a character from Guys and Dolls who just stepped away from the crap tables, wrote Bell. And his penchant for referring to his brothers as queens, fags, and cocksuckers. Again, that's what he said. Did not go down well with the doers' white label liberation crowd.
I'm sure it didn't.
I love that. But Murphy was a phenomenal resource whom everyone respected. Another activist explained, according to Bell, Murphy turned against the mobsters who had long worked for, becoming a witness in hearings into the mob control of gay bar scene, held by the New York State Select Committee. Yep.
Okay.
Eventually known as the mayor of Christopher Street, Murphy played a central role and organized the now famous street festival that takes place during New York's annual Gay Pride weekend. So basically, he invented the Gay Pride, right? The Pride Parade, rather. Every year, Murphy and a crew of much younger men would ride in a convertible Cadillac in a Gay Pride, in the Gay Pride Parade itself. A picture, which I'm going to show you now.
Yes, I was hoping.
Yeah, because this is like one of the only, I'm sure that this is him kind of photos of him that I found.
Oh, hello. He looks quite distinguished. He looks like the president of a Central American country.
Yep. Murphy looking dapper in a trimmed beard, blazer wearing blue sash bearing the words, the original Stonewaller.
That's the skull.
Yep, that's the skull.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
guys around and going, yay!
Yeah. Unfortunately, Murphy died of AIDS himself in early 1989 at the age of 64. At a standing room only and Roman Catholic funeral, the priest said that, quote, if Ed Murphy is not with God, there is no God.
That's a nice thing to say at his funeral.
Right, that's fucking baller. As pallbearers carried him to the hearse, a police escort stopped traffic, and a tenor sang Danny Boy. The obituary in the New York Native called Murphy, quote, a patriarch to his own, and said that bigotry appalling him, he was, the obituary declared, a humanitarian with few peers, whose likes may never pass ours way soon.
In Irish, we say a similar thing about people who are important, and we say, Ní vega le hé down a ríis, meaning his likes will not be seen again.
Yep.
Ní vega le hé down a ríis.
So that is the tale of the Lavender scare. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, there's a lot more that we can talk about as far as
yeah, you did good, man.
The different portions of it, which might end up in other related episodes. I don't know if we'll do
episode 3 of the Lavender scare, which will definitely be in 2 weeks.
I don't know if we'll do a quote unquote part 3, but there'll be other related to this because
we'll be doing a part 3 minus the quotes. Yeah, no need to quote. We'll be doing a part 3 of the Lavender Scare, and you will all see it guaranteed in 2 weeks. I promise you all the viewers, people watching this, are our friends in the chat box. You will definitely see Lavender Scare. Look at his face, his fucking face.
Nope. So before the next part, again, thanks for everybody that being patient with us getting back to. So
yeah, we were on hiatus for a very good reason.
Yeah, so
and you saw my thing explaining some of it.
And we're back now, so hopefully
we're back every 2 weeks.
Yep, that's the plan. So
we're here for you.
Yep, we got something else to do now, Barry. What are we doing next?
What is the news? Okay, what happens here is myself and Seamus, we put FBI and CIA into Google, and we hit the news tab, and we're trying to find some interesting stuff that's happening currently to illustrate, because we talk a lot about historical stuff about the CIA and the FBI, and they're also up to weird shit right now.
Always.
That's why we have this section. So go. What have you got for FBI?
So this one just kind of, I don't know. I have 4, but I don't know how many of them are actually good. This is from Bloomberg reported this, which I had to go to another source to actually read it. Anyways, FBI informant ran enormous multinational scam while under FBI supervision. So this guy who was a hacker found this hacking scam on JP Morgan.
Okay.
While he's working with the FBI, though, he starts another scam of his own, hacking into all these different organizations throughout Europe.
Okay.
And basically, the
And the FBI didn't pick up any of it.
Nope, they fucking failed. So there's
They fucked it.
there's one report that he might have actually benefited from some things that he got from the FBI to pull it off too. So it's fucking dipshittery of the FBI, right? So next thing, FBI. Whoa, sorry, for some reason it just crashed that one. Anyways, so there was a recent protest out in LA in front of these synagogues. Why?
Okay.
Because the synagogues were auctioning off property
Right.
to Palestine and
Yes.
Gaza.
Yeah.
That's what it was about. But of course,
Yep.
no, it's anti-Semitism. That's how it's being painted, right? So now that they want the fucking piece of shit mayor over there wants to now consider a mask ban to try it so he can out protesters. And the FBI now is investigating because Merrick Garland is requesting them to do so to try to go after the protesters. So again, they said they wouldn't do this. They said they wouldn't do this, but they're fucking doing it.
I would normally recommend staying away from synagogues, but if they're doing land deals inside the synagogues, like what they're the ones who have sullied that holy space.
Fuck that.
Yeah. Jesus went into one of those places and trashed the place.
Exactly.
Because there were money changing, because they were doing currency deals inside the holy place,
fucking whatever. So now this one, I'm just throwing this out there because it seems kind of funky. The Oakland mayor, Oakland, California, that is, her place,
Oakland booty.
She her house got raided by the FBI.
The mayor's house.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's only Oakland. It's not like a real mayor, is she?
Right. So now she claims that it's rather suspicious that it came days after backers of the mayoral recall were informed by a city clerk that they collected enough signatures to qualify for the ballot, likely in November. Backers on the recall say that public safety and economic virtually have worsened under the politically progressive mayor, and that she should not have fired police chief Lee Ron Armstrong, which I believe that was related to a shooting or something. And then NAACP and other people were stepping up on her behalf, saying that this is a fucking witch hunt. So
it sounds like
it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that.
Find out in 2 weeks.
Possibly.
Share part 3.
So this story is interesting.
Okay.
Alec Baldwin's attorney says the FBI testing damaged gun that killed cinematographer. So they did tests to the gun that was, unfortunately.
I would hope they did some tests on the gun, yes.
But the test ended up ruining the gun. So now the defense cannot actually examine the weapon.
Oh, that's an evidentiary issue.
Yeah. So they done fucked up. So my guess is that this might get fucking tossed now. Good job, FBI. Good job. So, and that's
an issue.
Yep. So those are my 4.
Okay. Yeah. No, they're okay. None of those were bad. You want to hear the bad ones?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. CIA stuff. Number 1, Evan Gershkovich, U.S. journalist seen with shaved head as he goes on trial in Russia for spying. Evan Gershkovich had been seen with a shaved head as he went on trial behind closed doors in Russia, accused of spying. Obviously not behind enough if they got a photo of him, which is here.
Yeah.
The Wall Street Journal reporter was first arrested and detained in March 2023 after Russia claimed he had been gathering secret information on orders from the CIA. So because the Russians say he's probably not guilty of that. Next one. Next is on Fox News. Trump's CIA chief knew about the infamous letter dismissing Biden laptop as propaganda. The active intelligence agency contractors colluded with the Biden campaign when releasing a statement dismissing Hunter Biden's infamous laptop. So again, if you give a shit about Hunter's laptop, that's a story you might want to. I personally do not. If the guy's committed a crime, he should go to jail, right? He should be committed. Yeah. That's it. 1 year ago, the CIA. This is another link. 1 year ago, the CIA rolled out our first ever K9 well-being program. The program gives officers a chance to take a break from work and spend time with agency working dogs, who just so happen to be sweet and lovable Labrador retrievers. So yeah, this is the organization who's organized coups and murders and killed millions of people all over the world. But you can spend a lunchtime with our little fluffy dogs.
Poor dogs.
Load it up, let it go.
Okay.
Where the hell is William Burns? William Burns, William Burns. Where the hell is William Burns? William Burns this week.
Phnom Penh, Cambodia.
Where the hell is William Burns? William Burns, William Burns. Where the hell is William Burns? William Burns this week.
I love that so much. Okay, now I did say Phnom Penh, Cambodia. This is 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks, I guess, after during hiatus. He was in Phnom Penh, Cambodia 2 weeks ago for reasons that nobody's entirely clear on. Right now, he's probably back in the Middle East, but I haven't found any sources. But the Phnom Penh, Cambodia thing is so weird that I had to mention it, but that was 2 weeks ago. That's where the hell William Burns is. Next is, the last one is that, Phnom Penh. Never mind. Yeah, I'm done. That's it. Those are my links. Are any of those interesting to you?
Yes.
Cool. Well, then we're good. That is our show. Thank you very much for listening.
What are you going to be covering about the CIA next week, Barry?
Oh, my CIA script. 4 weeks, I will definitely. You'll definitely have 1. 2 weeks, of course, we'll have Lavender Scare 3. So after then, we'll have the CIA. I have no idea, but I will. In reality, when I'm not trolling Seamus, I will have a CIA script ready, done, and filmed in 2 weeks. So look forward to that. It will be my usual bullshit. If you've seen any of my CIA scripts, it'll be more of the same. Probably involving some of the same people. So that's what we will be doing. Thank you for listening to this Lavender Scare 2, and I hope you liked it. And we are back from hiatus.
Yep.
If you liked it, tell your friends. If you hated it, please tell everybody you know. Good luck, guys.
See you guys. Bye.
A haircut.